Mr. Lagarde gonna be here, or his presence really not required? Okay. Let's see who. How are you doing? I'd like to call the January 8th meeting of the Historic Preservation Review Board to order. Mr. Boswell, roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver? Here. Mr. Webb?
Here.
Mr. Giesler?
Here.
Mr. Neese? Here. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you to all members of the board. This is the first time in a while that we've had the full contingency. Thank you all. You all received from Mr. Boswell a packet for review this evening. Included in those were approval of the minutes of the December 4th meeting. Anyone have any comments, suggestions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Boswell, please.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Abstain.
Mr. Giesler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. We only have one application for certificate of appropriateness on the agenda this evening. Mr. and Mrs. Brewer, relative to property on Pikes Mill Road. Representative, it says Chris Price, although
I decided just to come myself.
that sounds good. If you would, just step up to the podium and tell us a little bit about what you're planning.
Sure. So we're planning an addition on the back of the house to enlarge the kitchen and add a mudroom. And so that involves removing the existing porches and rebuilding back a larger porch, and then a covered entry porch on the side facing the garage.
Okay, this is, I think, the plan that was submitted.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows the new construction going straight back, and that's a kitchen along with, if I understood it correctly, a kitchen along with other area, an outside porch area, or?
Mm-hmm. And so since this was submitted, we have done a revision. We removed the chimney that you see there, the fireplace on the back porch. We decided to take that out and make a change to the roof, which I brought that with me. But the footprint and the footprint of the addition itself is the same.
So this is the existing plan that you're looking at now?
That's the existing structure.
Yes, sir. And then this is what was submitted to the proposed, but she had made alterations.
Okay. Included within the packet was basically a listing of the materials. One, you have the addition. The roof is a standing seam roof to match the existing. Gutters and downspouts to match. Is it half round that is on there right now?
I think it is half round.
Okay, and that's what you're going with?
Yeah, whatever's on there is what I'll use.
Okay, well, half round guttering. The fascia board, the eaves and the soffits to match existing. And I think are those encased wood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The brick, you got general shell, cascade white.
Yeah, and I did bring a sample of that.
If I can ask, what's the reasoning for the white brick? And the reason being is the guidelines, which we try to go by for primary residential structures, new additions. New additions shall be compatible with the original building in scale, placement, and design, including roof shape, materials, color, location of windows, doors, cornice heights, what have you. Obviously, the white is different from what's there.
Mhm. So our reasoning with that was, the garage next door, the next to the house, is also built with brick. And they did a really good job matching it in the color,
Mhm.
but not in the mortar to the original. The original has some actually kind of unique, very thin mortar joints. So that was our dilemma was, you know, we're introducing a third brick in that same color with it would be yet another different mortar line. And so visually we thought, well, you know, switching to the white would kind of give that look. Often you see older homes that have had painted brick. I just thought that going with actual white brick would just be a nicer finish than that. And so that was, you know, kind of just like visually, you know, it would complement the building, but not introduce just a third mismatched style.
Yeah, so, I mean, the concern is just in matching up the brick and the mortar.
Mhm.
I would think you could do that, especially on, and I'll give you an example, on my house, I have an older structure as well. And there's several companies out there. One of them is a company called Limeworks, which
Sure.
specializes in mortar. And it's obviously more expensive anytime you deal with an older home, but they do a very good job at matching up. I mean, my mortar is 1871. And that was one of the concerns, and certainly opened it up to the board whenever I looked at this, because the guidelines, you know, are clear, and that's what we try to adhere to as far as trying to match, you know, what is there and be
Sure.
complementary to it.
Sure. It's my understanding also that from a historic preservation standpoint, it's not always appropriate to try to fool someone looking at this house and thinking this was original. So that to me was like another reason why it would be appropriate to use a different material. Because there is some, you know, that takes away from the integrity of a building if you have this seamless addition that is so
Well, no,
good that it can't
and-
tell, right?
Yes, ma'am, and I certainly respect the opinion, but normally you want to try to minimize the appearances as far as additions and things of this nature, such that they look as close as possible, you know, to what an original structure relative to the materials that were utilized and the time period for that structure. You know, what that would have been, you know, and we run into this with metal roofing. People want to use sometimes standing seam with striations.
Right.
Well, to be period correct, they didn't have striations. It was just a standing seam metal roof. And that's what, you know, we try to adhere to. We have the ability on occasion, you know, when circumstances dictate to, I don't want to say deviate, but here, if the primary concern is just trying to match the brick up, you know, I tend to go back to try to match, you know, as close as you can, what they did on the garage as well, what Dr. Horsch did previously with the property, trying to match that up. And we'd be more than happy to try to give you some suggestions, if need be, as to vendors that you could work with in trying to do that. But anyone else have any comments or?
Well, I think if it were, you know, there was a time when people would have a rectangular house and then they would build an L addition to it. And if it were wood framed with wood lap siding, it would probably be painted white. And that I could accept, but I personally have an issue with the white brick. I've done it, and I understand what you're talking about because I've done a few historical renovations. And it is difficult to match, but that would be my preference, would to see see the brick match the existing. And as you say, if you send Limeworks a 2-inch sample of your existing mortar, they can match it.
Well, I've got a sample kit that I purchased from Limeworks.
I'm
that I'll
sure,
be
yeah, I've
glad
got
to
one of
have.
those too, yeah.
Any other comments?
I take it this was an addition, that the part you're demolishing, that it was not built as part of the original house?
It doesn't appear to be,
I mean, there's a door coming out on a roof.
right, right. Now, I will, maybe since we're talking about, you mentioned the door on the roof, I don't know, if we wanna continue, should we discuss the material more, or do you wanna look, what we have done is we decided to keep that door, and we decided to go with a flat roof with a small balcony over instead.
Can you bring that
So this is,
up?
yeah, kind of hot off the presses, and I apologize, I should have.
Yeah, no, you're dealing with individuals, well, I speak for myself, older individuals than classes.
Oh, so you're gonna have a balcony?
Yeah, and so we decided not to get into changing these windows in this door here. We decided to keep that, and, you know, now I've gotta redo my master bathroom though, because that's where that door is.
So what's gonna be in this addition here?
This is kitchen.
Kitchen.
Yeah, so the existing kitchen ends about right here, along the existing structure.
I'll put it in the existing on the projectors so they can kind of. So, what I was gonna say earlier, we've dealt with this a lot, anytime you have a structure that has, this one's got a dormer that comes out here that you're going to be kind of breaking up. The rule of thumb is actually that you probably would have to come up here and add it on as if it was part of an additional, well, actually part of the structure from the beginning. Whenever time you break up something like that with another roof line, it just causes problems. So, and that's just my personal,
But isn't that roof line
experience
more
with
or
it.
less or closer to what's there?
It is. This is the existing that I pulled up. This is.
I mean, it might have been an addition that we wouldn't have approved of, but it does, I mean, that low slope roof is there, whether we like it or not.
That's what's there now.
Yeah, and I believe that this design takes it back closer to what it probably looked like originally.
I mean, what's here now is just this low slope,
Right.
Correct.
and then that's what's being, this area here is being demolished with the addition. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, actually, on the new plan, and we failed to get the window in there, but we planned for the new addition to come in right here. So this wall would be left, the existing brick and that existing window, and the new addition would come in about right here, the new entry porch.
Minimal impact rather than taking it off.
And then what you're gonna do here is instead of having the chimney here, she's included.
She has to introduce that balustrade, which is,
Or built at the same time. We had training on that years ago. This fits the guidelines a little better. As if you're first looking.
can I raise another issue?
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to be your enemy, but, we typically, because this is in the historic district and it is a contributing structure to our district, we typically, and DHR will back us up on this, that the columns need to be wood, not fiberglass.
Okay.
So I think that's something that we have to insist upon. And the reason I just thought of that is because your new plan shows a balustrade on the roof. And, we would probably want that to be wood as well, wouldn't we? I mean, even though it's a maintenance item?
Correct, as far as the railings, let me specify.
I mean, it'll be tough to maintain it, but
Did you all get a copy of the guidelines beforehand? Everything? Again, when you get old, your mind's not as sharp as it would be. You all know what provision the railings are? I think you're correct, Mike.
I'm sorry.
I think you're correct.
I don't, no, I don't recall where it is in our guideline, but I know,
I mean, you've got porch columns and balusters, that, you know, the way the regs read, should be preserved and maintained, where repairs required, owner should use materials to match the original dimensions and detailing. If original columns, been removed or replaced, the porch should be restored to its original design, compatible with the architectural style. You know, the associated building. You basically, go back to original materials and, original materials of that time period, you know, was wood.
Yeah, what was your proposal? Do you know what they were planning on using for the balustrade?
You know, I'm okay with wood. I mean, for the, if I did an alternate material, I'd be really picky about it, because I don't want those shiny vinyl ones, you know? So I know there's some really good new materials out there now, but, I hadn't, I don't think so. Yeah, like, you know, these are kind of.
It just says white balustrade.
Well, and you had porch railings that were listed on here as black metal.
that's it.
I think that's before they added the balustrade.
Yeah, oh, I think that's just for these downstairs, for the,
Oh,
the,
okay.
the porch. That.
The way the National Park Service guide reads is that if you had a photograph of, I mean, since there is a door out onto that area, there was probably some sort of a railing around the area in the beginning. And if you had a photograph of that, then you could match that. But if you don't have a photograph of that, then the requirements are that you have to do very plain railing. I mean, you can't have a turn spindle or
Sure.
any of that kind of stuff. It has to be just a very plain balustrade.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's in the rendering.
Yeah, I looked at that and I think that's right.
So I mean, is that, to the best of your knowledge, are you advocating wood here, or?
Yeah, wood, unless the board would approve a wood-like composite material. And I apologize, I'm not familiar on those,
Tricks.
like a tree. As long as it's not shiny, right?
Correct.
Sometimes the white ones are shiny.
Yeah.
And I should be better informed on that, I apologize.
I think rule of thumb is usually we try to stick with materials that were, to the time period. Track decking.
And this is something we keep
That-
facing over and over again, because, I mean, I have a porch that has wood just like that, and it is a pain, and there's constantly
Sure.
splitting and having to be repaired and everything. And, you know, the industry is coming up with better and better products. Before, it used to be pretty easy, we would just specify traditional materials on everything, but then some things, at some point, you know,
Well,
we
I mean,
may
it's just,
want to revisit that, but right, so far, we've sort of just required traditional materials and traditional visible areas like that.
Right.
and the only, and that's the key word, is visibility from a public right of way, anything of this nature. The only area we've approved a Trex material, actually, I think was for Goodman's on his back porch, which is concealed, and you can't see it from any public right of way.
Although your back of your house is
That's,
pretty
it's
concealed,
pretty
isn't it?
concealed, that was what,
Yeah.
that was my
It's pretty
next
concealed, but
question.
with Mr. Price's recommendations to begin with, that was one of the things, that was one of the issues, is they're gonna have to remove some of the shrubbery, which will open it up a little bit. I still think that you'd really have to pay close attention to what you're looking at as you walk by or drove by. but-
Well, I mean, whenever you're on Valley Street, driving by, you're not gonna be able to see it from White's Mill, but on Valley, the profile of the house will be visible.
Plus, this
And
is
it's a beautiful house.
It's a beautiful house, it's a significant house in the historic district, it's a very visible lot, and, you know, this is a big addition.
Well, it's a gem of a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, for what
You're
now?
lucky to.
Hey, for what now?
Oh, for the railway?
Yeah.
Oh, I probably prefer that.
Over the top part right here? Available right now.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a lot easier to keep.
For me.
Different
Yeah,
spots.
yeah.
It really would.
I'm
And it'd
fine.
be pretty because.
White metal? Or would it, would,
Yeah.
yeah.
Most of the time because, you know, like.
I know we're jumping around here, but I wanna go back.
I got more too.
I understand the thought behind the white brick. I got a problem with it, but I understand it. I think as far as appropriateness, I think that it would probably look better with the pitched roof than it will with the membrane roof or whatever it is you're gonna do up there. I just don't think there's gonna be enough of it to justify it. I just don't like it.
So the pitched roof, like on the, what was submitted, the new roof?
Yeah, I
The
mean-
new roo- the different roof line there, right?
See all this big white, with this,
Right.
you know, if you were gonna do white brick, I think this would help
Oh.
minimize it, but since that's not gonna be there now,
Gotcha, okay.
I prefer
Yeah,
red brick.
it should be compatible with the original, or whatever, but it should be compatible with the same. You know,
Heights. Heights and other design elements is what I'm talking about. You add in, you just add something to it. Trying to get it correctly with the roof line is really what.
And that's-
To in the past.
Correct. As far as the design, cornice heights, other design elements,
Yeah,
is the way.
it has to look like it was part of the structure.
You're not doing the fireplace, huh?
No, we just have enough.
So I mean,
This could be something that would be, that's something that you do that they're gonna do. They have it on like a kitchen on the
I
outside.
should move somebody around there.
But adding one like they had before with that.
So when you do that, when you have drawings of the upper level.
yeah, but I think.
But when-
For the upper level floor plan.
Yes. That's how it works. It's not. So I'm saying that really doesn't.
I'm not really visualizing where. This is the master bath.
Mhm. Well, actually, right now, it's a closet in the master bath. Whatever we do, it- right now, that door is enclosed in a big long
And that's a-
closet.
It's more or less in this area, right?
Yeah, and here's what you got, I'm sorry, your master bath is here.
Is here and here. This is like a
Okay.
closet right now.
Yes, ma'am. That would come straight out. Here's the
This
side
curve.
profile. Going out. Which I'm not adverse. If you did an addition. I mean, there probably was, obviously, I've got one at my house, there's a door that goes to nowhere
Mhm.
right now. You know, what's your first step? But that would have been a porch or an exterior staircase that came in at an angle, you know, along the back.
So you don't think there was a, yeah, you're right.
When Dr. Horst bought it, it was as it is now, the door to nowhere, which is why
why they made it in their closet.
Jim, was it Jim?
So, with this,
You were
and,
around when Bundy did his-
we've got,
No, he
you know,
didn't.
concern relative to the material of the design. I think the revised,
Exactly what you showed.
may not present
Were you here when they did that?
much of an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're on that.
You know, it's more the materials with it,
You go
as
behind
far
it,
as the
he actually has
columns,
it
the brick,
on
the
his,
railing,
but he had to go up 2
now,
stories to tie into the roof.
metal railing,
She's gonna
that
do
was,
it on the bottom level.
you either had wood or metal, one of the two.
He
So I
did a
mean,
2-story addition.
if you're
for-
asking
I
to,
can't remember, it was just a walkout room.
for the board to consider
He
metal,
matched the brick,
then
and he went
you
above
know, I
it
think that's
to tie
something
into the roof line.
we
for
can
that
do.
Addition.
Okay.
And it looks like it's-
You've got metal railings here and here, so we would just need to specify the color.
Okay.
But what he
And
did
in
is-
the plan say black,
if you're gonna tie them in,
most of the time that was
off
black or, I guess it could have been white.
That's
Well, I would think the ones that I'm familiar with, it's usually over the fronts too. And there'll be a second floor door right above the first floor door, and that's all, the ones that I'm familiar with were always white railing.
Okay.
Which,
Well, that's what,
That's why, yeah, I mean, you
Now
said
that you
no,
think
I
about it,
haven't
that's-
followed, I haven't seen the dark.
mine's white. Yeah, my house is
Seemed like a
white.
small balcony, like
Yeah.
wrought iron, a small one, but
yeah,
those
I think what's
those.
Okay.
for railing, not for
Okay,
railing.
so are we,
Okay.
Are you adamantly opposed to using brick rail?
No, I'm not. I like the look of white, I just like the differentiating a little bit, and I like that better than using like a white siding product. But.
no, I think with general
I've
shell.
got a match with General Shell already.
Okay.
I can-
You're
you thought
a
that
step
too, right?
ahead.
But she's
Yeah.
right, it is the mortar issue though.
Yeah, it's this really thin, the combination of it being those really thin joints, that I don't know if we can do those.
Did you think about doing it with wood siding instead of the brick to
Yeah,
actually look
smart
like
siding.
Did y'all talk
Mhm.
about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider that.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, I would definitely consider that.
Where-
Well-
Now, do y'all require wood siding, or can you, like a hardy board or something?
Smart siding is wood siding.
Okay,
I mean,
The
we
hardy
have-
board
we have a
does-
hardy board, don't we?
Yeah, hardy board does fit.
okay.
I mean, that would achieve the look you want.
Mhm.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Would it be better to kind of take some of the comments, you give it some thought,
Mhm.
and then come back in February? Or you tell us
Wants to
as
go.
to.
Freddie,
I mean, no, it's,
I mean, I'm wondering, is there any kind of, provisional approval you could give me that we could go ahead and start some of the basic work as far as like, you know, the porch that we need to, tearing off the porch in its final foundation? Like-
without knowing what's going back, I mean, I'm assuming the footprint
Right,
is
if
gonna
it's
be
just
the
a
same, but-
question of materials, yeah, the footprint's gonna be the same, if it's just deciding on materials.
Well, but
What do you
I
recommend?
found, the wall framing would be different if it's brick than if it's lap siding.
Well, I mean, I guess we could approve siding and brick, the brick and match and floor siding, since both would be acceptable to us,
Okay.
wouldn't they?
Yeah, we can do that. And then before any construction though, and once you all decide, samples would have to be provided back to
Okay.
Mr. Boswell.
Okay,
And then saying, here's what we're going with.
Okay.
And then, you know, we can go from there.
Of course, if you have siding, you'll have to have a foundation under it that would, I assume a brick.
Yeah, a couple courses, something of that nature, up off the ground.
So I guess we'd have to specify that would, I guess, have to match the existing structure if you go with siding.
I'll probably go with brick. Red brick.
Okay. Again, we're asking for comments back from you as to.
Yeah, if you'll go ahead and
Tell us.
approve both, that way I can
Have some
have
options.
a little bit of, yes,
Okay.
great.
So,
Um, Do you have another copy of this?
Yes.
Yeah, y'all are welcome to
Okay,
that.
so we'll turn this to Ms. Boswell.
Okay.
Let me go back to my sheet. Windows and doors, you all specified wood windows and doors by Anderson, or genuine to match existing in style. You know, which are wooden windows.
Mhm.
And so, columns are wood. Your bluestone, where's the bluestone?
The porch floor.
I'm not even sure. Can we see that?
It's like a slate.
No, I mean, when I meant, can we see it? Can you see it from the public
Oh,
right of
yeah.
way?
I don't.
No,
We don't really need to have a comment
No.
about that.
Yeah.
Or the deck above.
correct. Porch railings, black metal or white metal, I'm sorry.
Black metal downstairs, right?
Be black on the lower portions
Mhm.
and then white above the addition. Lighting fixtures. Do you have, I don't recall seeing samples of the fixtures.
I didn't.
What this specifies is just traditional lantern style, outdoor wall lights and bronze finish. Do you have any pictures or anything that?
I don't today, no. I can just submit that. I'm used to picking out lights this early.
We got
It
pictures
won't
of
be
it.
until February.
Do you have a Pinterest page with it?
Hmm.
Do you have a Pinterest page with it?
No, I just figure I just pick
You
out.
just go out and get
What was-
grab some. Okay.
Yeah, but I can absolutely submit that when I come back with a brick sample.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, we've got standing seam gutter, fascia,
Is it-
brick. Go
Is the
ahead.
foundation for the addition gonna match it looks like a poured concrete foundation, is that
Mhm.
right? So you're gonna match that?
Okay, I'll go back over this. Standing seam metal roofing, 26 gauge, light gray to match the existing. Again, for clarification, you had a sample in here. It is a standing seam with no striations
Right.
in between. Okay. The gutter and the downspout will match existing, and it's half round. The color, I'm assuming, is that white on the existing?
Yeah, some of it's OG type in the photographs,
So G,
but I don't know where. I mean, it might not all be that way. Just say matching.
match existing, the existing gutter. Fascia board, eave trim, and soffit is also, Jason, go back, right there. Will match your existing. Your brick, general shell, to match the existing structure. Sample to be provided, you know, or lap siding. You know, again, with the sample to be provided. The foundation will match existing, which is the brick. Windows and doors are to be wood windows and doors. Columns are wood. The bluestone we really don't consider. Porch railings, the upper structure is, both of them are gonna be metal, be white above and black below. The lighting fixtures are to be provided.
Couple of comments.
Yes, sir.
The foundation doesn't appear to be brick in the original structure. It appears to be,
Is it block or rock?
I'm not sure if it's poured and cast in place concrete or if it's, but I'd say we should just say matching.
So use whatever, yes, whatever the existing foundation is, just match.
Right.
And did we, Did we say that the balustrade on the upper level has to be metal? Or did we get rid of the?
I guess we
Metal.
said as, we would approve metal, but we could approve metal or wood.
Or wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going off of,
Sure.
comments here, either one.
Okay.
You know, what we need though is, before construction begins, tell us
Sure.
what you're using.
Okay.
You know, provide samples as much as possible. The revised plan, will be submitted, to Mr. Boswell. Any other comments, suggestions? Any questions?
None on the addition. I do have one other question about our existing structure.
Mhm.
The third floor, the attic windows, which you see, they're like those, like kind of dormers, there's one on, I think,
Mhm.
3 sides. They're, I know that repairing them is the recommended source. They're pretty rotten. They've had a lot of, weather. I brought a few pictures. I'm not sure if they show it enough, but I've just brought a couple of contractors by to look at them, and they've had a lot of weather. They haven't had the storm windows on them like the rest, and there's some pretty gaping holes. And that's something we wanted to address before we re-insulate the attic.
What do you advocate,
I was-
repair?
Would like to replace with a wood, an all-wood window.
I don't see a concern. You know, it's, with our guidelines, it's just going back like for like.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
it is the main concern as
Right.
far as, all of your dividers, the window itself, being like material.
Okay.
So if it's wood, you'll use wood,
Okay.
True divided light.
true divided light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know the difference?
Mm-hmm. But there's like pop-in grills, or just the ones that they're actually separate?
Is it
the
actually
glass?
separated by the buttons?
Right.
How bad are those? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is something we've really focused on over the years, which
Mhm.
is, you know, for us, I guess, the main priority is to keep the original architectural features of the buildings in place. I mean, I have an old house, and we had to redo every window in it, and we had to replace a lot of wood and repair the existing windows, but,
Mhm.
I mean, in the end result, you have beautiful historic windows, and, you know, if we allow, you know, features when they get a little wear and tear to just be replaced with new
Mhm.
features, then pretty soon, the historic district's gonna be a lot of new features in it.
Sure.
So, I mean, I know this looks rough, but I also know that you can have that repaired, and you can use that original window and have it reglazed and do those kinds of
Mhm.
things. So we really encourage that, unless there's just so far gone
Mhm.
that you can't hang on to the original. I mean, I'm sure these are the original windows that went with the house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So those are really a high
Right.
priority to keep those in
Yeah.
place if we can.
So I was told it'd be essentially rebuilding it, like to repair it would be, there's so much damage that you would be essentially rebuilding the window, so.
Well, see, I think you probably just got some damage to the bottom, when the water's got to it, but I bet the rest of the window is in
Okay.
pretty good shape, so.
Who was the contractor that took a look?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, that's all right.
He was with my husband, so we had several out to look at various things.
let me say this, I've got a old Sears and Roebuck house from
Mhm.
1920s in Bristol.
Right.
And it's got the original clamshell 3/1s. This is just a 3, true divided, but at the bottoms of those were pretty rough. We fixed some of them and then put, storm windows
Mhm.
on it. And
Mhm.
from the street, you can't even tell the storm window's there.
Right.
And it completely sealed off the old window after we repaired it.
Mhm.
And there's no further damage.
Mhm.
So, and it was a whole lot cheaper than just going out and buying.
Mhm.
I'm not even sure how you're gonna find a new window that's going to fit into this space
Yeah.
and look right.
Tommy Darnell found one, but I
Oh,
I don't know.
I mean, a lot of times what they have to do is they have to, you know,
Maybe it's
reconfigure this, and that looks horrible.
Right.
So I think if there's any way you can have that repaired, and I feel certain you can,
Okay.
that would be the way to go.
Okay, well, we'll look more into that and then go from
And then, just like Mr. Neese was saying, you can get full view storm windows
there.
that then protect
Sure.
what's there and then seal it, and it helps our value, everything of this nature, which anyone with an older home, there is no R value.
Right.
Well, it's
I
like
mean, there's-
16% is the only loss that you get out of the windows. The rest of
Correct.
it's in
When
this.
I have ice on the inside
Do you?
of the window,
Yeah.
so,
I have, I'm in a 1930 house now. We
Yeah.
have ice.
Just
so-
storm windows.
Skiing conditions in your downstairs.
all right. Any
Okay,
other?
so we'll hold off on the windows for now.
Might be a cheaper route if you could repair the seals and then put, storm windows on, protect them from your
Okay.
and hold them for 20,
I
30
do have a
years.
source for the storm windows if,
Okay.
you can give me your email address or something, I'll send that to you.
Okay, sure, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Anything?
I don't make any money.
Okay. I think I asked him.
I've got no financial.
He owns part of the company.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't.
With that said, do I need to read the summary again, or are we good? Okay.
I move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness within the guideline, and within the summation that Mr. Johnson made.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver?
All right.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you for undertaking this project. It's a great house. I mean, Dr.
It
Horsch,
really is.
I think the only problem he had a tree or something one time, that he had to take down. It was one of the larger, and it actually, the crew that was taking it down, the tree fell, rolled over, and then rolled over his car. Seriously.
Wow.
It was that type of day. So, but it's a beautiful structure, and thank you all,
We're
for
very
taking the
excited.
project.
It's gonna be a great house for our families.
And welcome back. How,
Thank
have you lived there
you.
long?
Yes.
Pardon?
Have you lived there very long?
No, well, I grew up in Chilhowie
Yeah.
and moved back to Chilhowie about 10 years ago. And we renovated an old home on Old Stage Road in Chilhowie that was built by Everett Bonham. So we went into a little classic 1930s home, so,
And you want to do another one?
I know, right? So this one was too perfect to pass up. When we had the opportunity to buy this one, we kind of,
Yeah.
we couldn't say no, so.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the application for tax abatement from Mr. Lagarde. Staff has reviewed the receipts. If memory serves correct, I believe it comes to about $9,200. $9,219.43. Again, staff has reviewed the receipts, brought it to the board for recommendation to pass on to the town manager for his review and consideration. Anyone have any questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion to pass this on to the town manager.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver? Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Any other items for discussion? Any announcements?
Yes, sir. We're going to do a resurvey of the original historic district.
What?
You liked that email, didn't you? And in all honesty, in full disclosure, Mr. Neese followed up with, Mr. Boswell actually did mention that to me, or made mention of it after one of our meetings, so I stand corrected.
That's okay, Mr. Johnson.
So-
I forget myself, we have so many projects going on right now, it's hard for me to keep up with it all. This is a great opportunity for us, we received a 50-50 cost share, CLG grant, and to my knowledge, it's the largest one that Athens ever received from DHR, to do a resurvey of the original historic district and the expansion district. So we're super excited about getting that underway. As you all know, we do not currently have a contributing and non-contributing inventory list for the original historic district. So it'd be nice to finally get that into VCRIS and, have that as a tool that we can use, so, for members.
Who's doing the survey?
It's a company out of Fredericksburg called Dovetail Cultural Resources. We're pretty excited about it. We got them on the phone today, have negotiated the price, and, hopefully we'll be sending out, information to all the members of the historic district. So you guys are gonna be getting some letters here before too long, and do some public outreach to let the historic district residents know. It's a reconnaissance level, it's all exterior, and it's just cataloging all the 250 properties. We're pretty excited about it. It's a lot of work, but we're pretty excited about it.
Sounds good, and again, as I stated in the email, we welcome the opportunity, to lend whatever assistance we can.
Appreciate that.
Because we've talked for some time about trying to revise and or update some of the provisions in the ordinance, and then trying to coordinate the two. Maybe a good opportunity to do so.
Sounds good to me.
If there are no other announcements, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion, need a second.
Second.
Motion and second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Geezer?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen.